Hey guys, Pastor Marc here. Welcome back to Beyond the Pews, where we look at the things that are going on outside of the church and how that affects our lives and the way we should maybe think about some of these things. There was not an episode last week because I was at the Southern Baptist Convention and was not able to put something together. If you want to know more about that, James and I did a report of the happenings at that event this past Wednesday. You can go find that video. I'll put a link down in the description. That would be news that is within the church. Here we're talking about news that is outside the church, the things that happen beyond the pews, where so many good conversations and interesting things take place. So some of the big things going on this week have to do with Supreme Court cases that are coming out. As you probably know, the Supreme Court hears cases, and then later in the, at other times during the year, and then in June, they release their rulings. And so we've had several kind of spicy cases this season. The big one we're still waiting on, the Roe versus Wade. They'll probably save that to the very end. It'll probably be next week whenever we hear about that, where they can just drop that bit of news and then get out of town. And so, but we do have some interesting things that have come out, some other stuff that's going on, plus a nice feel-good story to end us out with. So, interestingly, a lot of these have to do with the exact same kind of theme, principle that is going on, the way you're supposed to think about things, the way you should approach the issues. They all kind of have the same idea behind them. So, one of the rulings that came down has to do with religious liberty. Very significantly impacts religious liberty. It had to do with schools in Maine. In Maine, they have a government program that gives money, some kind of voucher system, tuition assistance for people who qualify. However, where they can choose where to send their kid. I think it has something to do if there wasn't an available school in their particular district, they could send their kids somewhere else. However, it prohibited the use of that money for religious schools, even religious schools that otherwise meet the criteria. They're accredited, they're meet with the requirements of the state education, all that kind of stuff. But because they're religious, you can't use the government money for that school. Well, the Supreme Court ruled rightly that this is religious discrimination and is therefore against the First Amendment. It is unconstitutional if you are going to give parents money in order to send their kids to a school, any school of their choosing. You cannot then turn around and discriminate against certain schools. And so that was ruled unconstitutional. One of the things that critics are saying is, but wait a minute, there's this wall of separation between the church and the state. There is no wall of separation in the Constitution. As many of you probably know, that term wall of separation actually comes from a letter by Thomas Jefferson written to the Danbury Baptists. And actually, he didn't even mean what most people mean by it. They were concerned about government intrusion into the church, and his use of that term, wall of separation, actually had to do with protection of the church from the government. It had nothing to do with the kind of situation we're looking at here, where religious people are actively being discriminated against. He was using the term wall of separation to say, no, there will not be religious discrimination. It's unconstitutional. And so is this law in Maine. You cannot discriminate against a school on the basis of religion. And so, good job, Supreme Court got that one right. Another one that, again, depending on how you feel about guns, you may or may not like this. However, the Supreme Court ruled that a law in New York that prohibited people and limited their ability, restricted their ability to conceal carry a weapon in public was unconstitutional. The reason being that the law was worded in such a way that New York had to give you permission. You had to go to New York and say, hey, I need to carry a gun, and then they get to decide whether or not your situation, your circumstance, you as a person are justified in them allowing you to carry the weapon. Supreme Court ruled, no, that's not how it works. The Second Amendment says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The government doesn't get to pick and choose who it likes and who it wants to. You don't have to go prove your ability, your rationality, your justification. It is a right. You already have it. It's the state who has to prove their justification in prohibiting you. That is according to the Constitution. And so, again, Supreme Court ruled correctly in this one according to the law, regardless of how you actually feel about guns or about people carrying guns. This isn't about that in particular. It is about the Constitution and whether or not the law was actually in line with the governing document of this nation. So there's that one. We're expecting also Roe versus Wade ruling, or well, it's not a Roe versus Wade, it's Dobbs. It's another case that if they rule the way the leaked item shows they probably will, then Roe versus Wade will be overturned. Finally, sanity will return to the nation on this issue where the abortion issue will be returned to the states where it should have been all along. And so if you notice, all of these things have to do with the rule of law. The fact that, hey, we are a nation that is ruled by law. We have a constitution. We have certain limitations on power. We have a governing philosophy that says government cannot prohibit and restrict the rights of its citizens. It's actually there to protect our rights. And our rights are things that we have that you need to justify taking them away. And that we have these laws, we have this document, and that's what we go by. And if you want to change it, you can change it. There's a way to do that. But we go according to the law, not according to what we feel, what we think, what we want at that moment, but we do it according to the rule of law applied equally to all people. That's the way all of these work. So even regardless of whatever side of a situation you fall on, you should be in favor of the rule of law. And then if you want to change the law, we work to change the law. So I want Roe versus Wade overturned, not merely because I think abortion is the murder of an innocent, defenseless human being, but because Roe versus Wade was absolutely garbage judicial ruling. There is no right to abortion in the Constitution. It does not exist. Okay, I want parents in Maine to be able to send their kids to a religious school. Yes, because I want them to be able to send their kids to a religious school, but also because not allowing it violates the Constitution. See, the rule of law is the issue. Another example of where rule of law is being cast aside for the moment's feelings, there is currently in the Senate a bill that is being under consideration. There should be a vote coming on it soon, and it has all sorts of things that is supposed to prevent gun violence and mass shootings, one of which is to empower states to have red flag laws. Red flag laws, if you don't know, it's the kind of thing where you can, someone can just be found to be problematic, maybe a little mental issue, maybe there's something going on with them, and so you can get their guns removed because they might be a danger. The problem is the way this works is blatantly unconstitutional. The bill itself doesn't impose these kinds of measures. It just says, hey, states, if you do this, we'll give you money. So it's incentivizing states to enact these. The problem is red flag laws are absolutely 100% blatantly unconstitutional. Okay, any legislator that passes a red flag law, any law enforcement officer who enforces a red flag law, any judge that rules in favor of a red flag law is violating their oath of office because these things violate the Constitution. They are not allowed. Let me just give you an example. Because what would happen would you'd say, hey, my crazy Uncle Freddie, he's a little nutty and he's got guns. And so you go and you say, Freddie's got guns, and they go and they seize his guns, and now he has to go show, no, I'm safe, I'm not a threat to anyone, and get his guns back. That's the exact opposite of how the situation's supposed to work. You do not impose punishments on someone who has not done a crime. Let me just give you a few of the ways that this is a violation of your rights as a free citizen of the United States. The Second Amendment says that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, there are certain things, felons and that sort of thing, that we say, hey, because you've been a violent criminal, we're not letting you have guns. But that's after conviction. Fourth Amendment says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. The government can't just go in and take your stuff. So that would be a violation. Fifth Amendment, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Red flag provisions, they do not, it's not a court case, right? You're not accused of something, brought in, it's argued, you lose, and now you lose your guns. That's not how it works. They take them, and then now you have to go argue to get them back. No due process. Sixth Amendment, the accused shall enjoy the right to be confronted with the witnesses against him and to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. And so the red flag laws typically are the sorts of things where they can just come in and take them and then you got to go prove it. No. Who's accusing me of being unsafe? Who is the one who is saying I'm a threat? They need to come accuse me. I have the right to face my accuser and defend myself. Red flag laws don't allow that. 14th Amendment, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And red flags do not follow due process of law. They are absolutely, completely unconstitutional. And anyone who's in favor of them is against the rule of law. And again, we are a nation of laws. The reason we're able to have the freedom, the liberty, all the prosperity, everything that we have is because we say, okay, here's the rules, here's the game. We all agree to play by it, win or lose, and then we adjust things accordingly. If the rules need to change, we have systems for that. However, we have to all agree to follow those rules. So that is kind of a running theme in all of these issues, is the rule of law. And this idea of innocent until proven guilty, equal application of the law, right? These principles that we follow, they come straight from the Bible. And so, especially we as Christians, we should be people who follow the truth. We should be people who value true principles and morals being followed. And some of those principles and morals are the things that lead us to say we obey the rule of the law. That we follow according to the equal application and non-discrimination under the rule of the law. And these cases, they've gone this way because they violate those principles. Okay, last thing to end with. This is one of those neat stories. Teenager, she is getting in her car. Instead of reverse, she put it in drive, or she accidentally hit the gas instead of the brake, and her car goes flying into the bay. I forget exactly where this was. People standing around looking, oh my gosh, she just went in the water. Teenager, I think he had just graduated, he was joining the military, just saw someone in need, jumps in after her, ends up saving her, and so that's the way we need to be. We need to be people who see someone in need, we see something that needs help, we give of ourselves to serve and sacrifice for the good of others. That's what Christ did for us. That's what Christ calls us to do and to be. And so we will end on that note. Here's a little video of story about that. Have a great day.
Rescue in Suffolk County. It started when an 18-year-old girl hit the gas pedal when she meant to hit the brakes.
Yeah, she ended up driving into Patchogue Bay, but thankfully a good Samaritan saw it happen and was there to help. Long Island reporter Shantae Lance has the story live from Patchogue with more. Shantae.
Dave, both the driver and the Good Samaritan are teenagers. They attend the same high school and didn't even know it. That girl drove the car, knocking over a trash can. It's in the spot where I'm standing. You can still see the outline there before it veered off of this dock and into Patchogue Bay. A teenage driver accidentally accelerates her SUV and plunges into the Patchogue Bay. Moments later, people rush to the dock, but a 17-year-old high school senior named Anthony Zonger dives in to save her.
She went pretty deep in there.
Anthony, who ironically just joined the Marines, shows us where 18-year-old Mia Semolinsky drove her Subaru Outback into the bay.
She was banging on the door, banging on the window, trying to break the window, of course. And then that kind of got me nervous, like scared for her. Yeah. So I just took my clothes off and went into the water. The dive was pretty far, so it was just right there. As soon as I looked up, I grabbed the door handle.
They both tried to unlock and open the door. With no luck, Anthony had to find another way. That's when he realized he could use his own weight.
My weight made the nose of the car go deeper into the water, which helped the back get free. And we opened the back up, and she was able to escape through the back.
They swam to shore together.
She just came up to me and said, "Oh my God, thank you," and was crying, that's all.
Too shy to go on camera, Mia's dad instead met with us and met Anthony for the first time.
He jumped out of his car and jumped in. And because of that, you know, my daughter is A, alive, and A, not really harmed. You know, I mean, it's a miracle.
It's a girl. It doesn't matter who it was. They were suffering. I couldn't watch anybody suffer in front of me.
Anthony graduates from high school next week. He heads to Marine boot camp in September. That's in South Carolina.
That little church on Liberty Hill, come praise the Lord, let your cup be filled. Raise your voices and we'll sing, let God's freedom ring from that little church on Liberty